Vivian, I have a business proposition for you.
Sales? That's terrific. That's good. What does she sell?
Vivian Ward and Edward Lewis are drawn to each other because they're the same.
You and I are such similar creatures, Vivian. We both screw people for money.
While Edward the corporate raider is at the top of the capitalist food chain and Vivian the sex worker is at the bottom, both are consummate professionals who don't get emotionally involved in business.
But I don't kiss on the mouth.
Neither do I.
Actually, though, what this movie comes to reveal is that everyone in this society is a prostitute.
Edward's our most eligible bachelor. Everybody is trying to land him.
Yeah, like those sales girls in Beverly Hills aren't bigger whores than she is.
I know. And despite her profession, Vivian is the one person Edward meets whose deeper self isn't for sale. So back in 1990, what was Pretty Woman really saying about wealth and whether you should live your life for love or for money? Before we go on, we want to talk about this video's sponsor. Skillshare is an online learning community where you can take classes on everything from video editing to business strategy, coding, or lucid dreaming. They offer 25,000 online classes from famous teachers at the top of their fields. And right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers 2 months access to all their classes for free. So click the link in the description below to sign up now. The very first line we hear in Pretty Woman is,
No matter what they say, it's all about money.
And we open on visuals of coins changing hands. We're watching a magic trick, which plants the idea that money itself is an illusion, based on what you can get people to believe. We'll later see that Edward's business is a similar kind of illusion.
Well, I don't sell the whole company. I break it up in pieces, and then I sell that off. It's worth more than the whole.
The fancy party we're witnessing is lubricated by money and lacking in personal feeling.
Great party, Philip. Well, my wife went to a lot of trouble. She called a caterer.
Once the camera finds Edward, he's on the phone, treating his girlfriend like an employee receiving a poor performance review.
Maybe I should just move out.
If that's what you want, yes.
All right, when you get back to New York, we'll discuss.
Now is as good a time as any.
Edward flees the stuffy party in his lawyer Philip Stuckey's hot new car. And then we get more scenes of exchange, this time on Vivian's turf, Hollywood Boulevard. Through these parallel introductions, the movie is setting up that fundamentally, Edward's and Vivian's societies both boil down to the same core drive: commerce. This is a money-obsessed world in which everyone is defined by where they fit on the financial totem pole, and all relationships are transactional. Within this context, when Vivian and Edward meet, they almost immediately see themselves in each other. Both are pros who face this reality with their eyes wide open.
I never joke about money.
Neither do I.
They always remember that business is business.
I will not let myself become emotionally involved in business.
That's why no kissing. It's too personal. It's like what you're saying. You stay numb. You don't get involved.
These two also enjoy the art of business and respect each other's professionalism.
You could get 1,000,000 girls free.
I want a professional.
In their first meeting, she impresses him with her talent for making a sale to someone who's clearly not interested in hiring her.
You can't charge me for directions.
I can do anything I want to, baby. I ain't lost.
As they get to know each other better, they continue to flirt through the language of negotiation.
I would have stayed for 2,000.
I would have paid $4.
By underlining the ways that Edward and Vivian are the same, the movie is telling us it's the rich corporate raider who's the real prostitute.
So it's sort of like stealing cars and selling them for the parts, right?
The most used definition of prostitute is, of course, a person who has sex for money. But a second definition of the word is someone who puts their talents toward a base or unworthy end for money. Edward is the one in this story who's using his skills and capital to hurt people and to actively prevent companies from doing positive things for society, like employing people in the practice of making things.
We don't build anything, Phil. We don't make anything.
We make money, Edward.
Vivian has sold out a lot less and retained more of herself than the rich people in Edward's circle.
These people your friends?
I spend time with them.
Well, no wonder.
These sharks worship money, and they appear to be totally lacking in love.
He could freeze ice on his wife's ass.
Their value system is represented by the reprehensible Stuckey, who lives to hurt and humiliate.
Morse's jugular is exposed.
It's time for the kill.
and doesn't see worth in anyone beyond how they measure up in the hierarchy.
You know, you're the only millionaire I ever heard of who goes looking for a bargain basement streetwalker, you know?
Pretty Woman was first conceived of as a response to the greed is good mantra of Wall Street's iconic finance tycoon, Gordon Gekko.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Edward's corporate raider profession was a rising phenomenon in the 70s and 80s as corporate America began to prioritize shareholder profits beyond all other metrics of success to an unprecedented degree.
Make the stockholders richer. Are you going to liquidate New England Wire and Cable? And if so, what about the people who work here? My obligation is to the stockholders.
The screenwriter J.F. Lawton was inspired by the idea of taking a Gordon Gekko figure and making him realize the human consequences of his actions.
I'm not thrilled at the idea of your turning 40 years of my work into your garage sale.
Vivian suggests that Edward didn't just find her by chance. He was looking for her.
I wonder why you came looking for me.
And that's exactly what the movie begins with. Edward urgently running away and blindly, even desperately seeking something else, something more. As perfect as his life appears, it's empty. And he exemplifies how if you live for money alone, there will never be enough of it.
I know about wanting more. I invented the concept.
Edward's drive for more money actually stems from hurt over his father abandoning him.
My father was president of the third company I ever took over.
Yet the more he amasses, the further away he feels from love. People look at him and see his net worth, trades to be made. They want things from him. It's all more business.
It's the kill you loved, not me. I made you a very rich man doing exactly what you loved.
By seeing him as the person he is underneath all the money,
I think you have a lot of special gifts.
Vivian helps him remember how to feel life.
Why don't you not go to work tomorrow?
Edward's position and a lifetime of wealth
My first car was a limousine.
has made him very used to feeling in control, as money buys the power to get others to do exactly what you want them to.
People always do what you tell them to do. I guess so.
The movie keeps returning to Edward's fear of heights,
Would you rescue me if I fell?
Vivian, I'm serious. I'm not looking.
which represents his fear of falling in love, of feeling, and thus giving up control. And while the impossibly rich Edward seems like some women's fantasy, really it's Vivian who's Edward's fantasy.
I'd like to hire you as an employee.
The sexy and fun woman who doesn't ask anything of him emotionally, and doesn't take it personally that his work comes first.
You just think I'm at your beck and call.
I do not believe that you are at my beck and call. I will pay you to be at my beck and call.
Look, I'd love to be your beck and call girl.
Edward's and Vivian's connection begins as an explicitly transactional relationship. She's the pretty woman, he's the traditional male equivalent of that, the rich man. And this trade or business partnership between a man's wealth and a woman's looks is a very common one in our society to this day.
Don't you know that a man being rich is like a girl being pretty? You might not marry a girl just because she's pretty, but my goodness, doesn't it help?
Yet the human triumph at the center of this movie is transcending the temptation to reduce every interaction to a transaction. Over the course of their week together, they're so transformed by love that both decide they can no longer continue to sell themselves. Fueled by the warmth that Vivian brings to his life, he reconnects with a stifled desire to create instead of destroy, to put value into the world.
Mr. Lewis and I are going to build ships together.
It may be a cautionary tale about the emptiness of living for money alone, but Pretty Woman is at the same time a shameless capitalist fantasy.
Wake up, time to shop.
It celebrates the power of having money and how good it feels to spend it.
We're going to be spending an obscene amount of money in here. So we're going to need a lot more help sucking up to us because that's what we really like. You understand that?
It contains not one, but two of the most iconic shopping scenes in cinema.
You work on commission, right?
Yes.
Big mistake. Big. Huge. Edward would love that tie.
Give her the tie. The tie. Take off the tie.
Which are widely beloved in our culture.
You made a big mistake. Huge.
There it is.
I just get really happy when they finally let her shop.
Everything Edward does for Vivian has money at the center of it.
If you were going to buy this, how much would it cost?
$250,000.
The opera seats and the dress and the plane, all these are positioned as so dazzlingly romantic because they're expensive.
If you're afraid of heights, why do you get seats up here?
Because they're the best.
In the end, Edward's redemption arc doesn't require any sacrifice. So the message of this movie is essentially, do choose love over money, but if you can, it's better to have both.
Exactly how obscene an amount of money were you talking about? Just profane or really offensive?
Really offensive.
I like him so much.
In 1990, Pretty Woman followed in the wake of a number of romantic 80s movies that had this love plus money happy ending. The plot might be about a wealthy character becoming better for venturing outside their rich person bubble, falling for someone who's not spoiled by money. Yet in the end, the couple decides, while money isn't everything, it's always nice to be rich too.
If you like, we can give it all up now.
Took the money. I mean, I'm not crazy.
The boat, the money, everything, it's all mine.
The double whammy happy ever after is the rom-com version of the American dream.
Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream?
To the movie's credit, unlike in many rom-coms, there's a certain honesty to Pretty Woman's acknowledging that money does matter.
It's easy to clean up when you got money.
Edward may have suffered internally up to this point.
It cost me $10,000 in therapy to say that sentence. I was very angry with him.
But it's nothing like on the level of what Vivian has endured.
I just saw a girl pulled out of a dumpster.
There's also a behind-the-scenes reason Pretty Woman has a split personality when it comes to capitalism.
I couldn't make the rent. I was too ashamed to go home.
The concept actually started as a dark, gritty story about prostitution and class, originally titled 3000.
3,000.
Done.
Holy shit!
Early drafts ended with Vivian and Kit sadly riding a bus to Disneyland. But when Disney took on the project, they asked for Pretty Woman to be reworked as an uplifting rom-com. Vivian's drug habit
What do you have in your hand? What are you hiding?
Nothing.
was scrapped to make her clean and responsible.
This is dental floss.
Yeah, so? I had all those strawberry seeds. And you should neglect your gums.
And the addiction went to her comic relief providing friend, Kit.
I can't believe you bought drugs with our rent. What is going on with you, kid? I needed a little pick-me-up.
Sure, it sounds a little crazy to give the Disney happy ending treatment to a story about a John hiring a prostitute.
Forgot where I was.
Occupational hazard?
This setup, which probably should not work, does thanks to the undeniable charisma and chemistry of Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. Thanks to the director, Gary Marshall's unmatched talent for spinning wacky premises into irresistible rom-com gold, and thanks to the fact that every moment between Vivian and Edward plays out like a storybook romance.
I took the liberty of ordering everything on the menu. I didn't know what you'd like.
The movie explicitly compares Vivian to
Cinderella.
According to Marshall, quote, "My vision was a combination of fairy tales. Julia was Rapunzel, Richard was Prince Charming, and Hector was the fairy godmother." Vivian explicitly challenges Edward to give her the fairy tale,
I want the fairy tale.
as she recalls her girlhood game of make-believe.
And he would climb up the tower and rescue me.
Edward literally shows up to rescue her when she's being attacked by Stucky, and of course he at last takes on the role of the knight in shining armor to deliver the picture-perfect ending. There's something charming about these Disney princess vibes, mixed with a story that's sexy and decidedly not prudish. Vivian and Edward have a sexual relationship before their emotional one develops, which is unusual for a rom-com, let alone a fairy tale. We also see a twist on the true love's kiss from Sleeping Beauty or Snow White. Vivian won't kiss Edward for most of the movie, until finally she does to express that she's fallen in love.
I love you.
Pretty Woman is strikingly similar to another story of an upper-class man who takes a working-class woman under his wing.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
My Fair Lady, based on Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. The man meets the woman on the street and seems to relish how coarse and low-class she is.
She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Well, color me happy. There's a sofa in here for two.
First time in an elevator.
He becomes a kind of mentor to her.
Teaching Eliza, talking to Eliza, listening to Eliza, dressing Eliza.
What? You're a pretty pair of babies playing with your life doll.
Stop fidgeting. Get rid of your gum.
We get extensive scenes of the man and those who work for him educating the woman in the etiquette and culture of the upper classes.
Say cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
No, a cup of tea.
4 times dinner fork.
Both couples attend a posh event centered around horses where they try to pass her off as an upper-class lady.
She's to keep to 2 subjects, the weather and everybody's health.
What if someone recognizes me?
You look great. You look like a lady. Okay, don't fidget and smile.
And throughout the story, her working-class manners provoke humor.
Slippery little suckers.
Them has pinched it, done her in. Whatever does it mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk.
While her kind warmth wins over hearts.
Bravo, Eliza.
It's been a pleasure knowing you.
Clothes play a key role in the lady's transformation, and there's at least some question over whether she's allowed to keep these clothes when she leaves.
Do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
You get to keep the clothes?
By the end, the woman is wholly transformed, but the man is too callous to immediately understand his responsibility for how he's changed her.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? What does it matter what becomes of you?
I've never had anyone make me feel as cheap as you did today.
Somehow I find that very hard to believe.
Emotionally, she's been set adrift, made over for a new existence, and then left without a clear future.
What am I fit for? What have you left me fit for?
Now everything is different, and you changed that, and you can't change back.
Not surprisingly, while the British My Fair Lady is all about class, the American spin on this story is about money. In My Fair Lady, the education centers especially on correct speech. In Pretty Woman, it revolves around understanding how to behave like a rich person.
Stores are never nice to people. They're nice to credit cards.
My Fair Lady and Pretty Woman both have titles that essentially mean attractive female.
Wherever did you find her?
976, babe.
So what is it that makes Vivian such a pretty woman?
It must be difficult to let go of something so beautiful.
Her name?
Vivian. My name is Vivian.
Comes from the Latin for alive or life.
How was your day, dear?
Nice tie.
And in this story, vivacious Vivian represents a vigor and zest for feeling alive.
Your foot's as big as your arm from your elbow to your wrist? Man, this baby must corner like it's on rails.
At the end of My Fair Lady, the smug, pretty insufferable Henry Higgins gets a wake-up call.
She's gone.
Well, of course, dear. What did you expect?
And it's clear that, in fact, his Eliza Doolittle was already a lot more special than he realized before he started fixing her up. She, the fair lady, is the treasure who's brightened up the lives of everyone around her.
She almost makes the day begin.
Like Eliza, Vivian also has a certain wisdom that comes from having been at the bottom of the social hierarchy. She understands what's valuable in a person even when they don't have anything. She treats the hotel manager as a friend.
I just wanted to say thanks.
While Edward, despite being such a great customer, doesn't know the man's name.
Thank you, Mr.
Thompson, manager of the hotels.
And she uses her generous heart to change people around her for the better.
We think you got a lot of potential, kid Luca. You do? You think I got potential?
So, does this escapist yet seductive romance with its mixed messages have anything to teach us today?
Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit.
You might say the bottom line fixated world of this story is tame and sweet compared to today's society, which is indisputably ruled by capital, an ocean full of sharks. Watching Edward's journey of becoming a better human being, we might go, yes, that's nice, and of course he should, because he already has so much money that he really doesn't need to take anymore. But the lesson here isn't just for predatory hedge funds. It also applies to all of those other professionals in the mid-levels between an Edward and a Vivian. Are we living for money, shutting ourselves off from what we feel and calling that good business, when just maybe we could actually make something and still get by?
I got this beauty course I'm looking into. You gotta have a goal. Do you have a goal?
However naively optimistic it may be, perhaps Pretty Woman is onto something. What if we do too easily give up on impossible dreams because we assume it's necessary to make the rent? What if we can get everything our hearts desire if we only hold out for the fantasy?
I want more. She rescues him right back.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare, an online learning community we love, with over 25,000 classes taught by seasoned pros. Skillshare has a class on pretty much anything you could want. You can develop your creativity through a class on calligraphy, graphic design, or writing. You can learn to succeed in business with classes on how to make it as a freelancer, market a podcast, or become a social media influencer. You can use it to master new technology through classes on web design, coding, and data science. Or you can bring that extra flair into your lifestyle. Sharpen your knife skills, learn paper making, speak Spanish. Or let Garrett Oliver, the brewmaster of the Brooklyn Brewery and one of the world's foremost experts on beer, teach you how to create a unique beer recipe. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers 2 months access to all of their classes for free. Just click the link in the description below to check it out today.